Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit of basketball.
Yeah, the president is up tweeting this morning, responding to that basketball dad's comments. He went on another network and he was saying he should have, I don't thank the president for getting my son out of China after his son and 2 other basketball players were caught shoplifting. The president responded this morning saying it wasn't the White House, it wasn't the State Department, it wasn't Father LaVar's so-called people on the ground in China that got his son out of a long-term prison sentence. It was me. Too bad. LaVar is just a poor man's version of Don King, but without the hair.
Whoa.
Just think, LaVar, you could have spent the next 5 to 10 years during Thanksgiving with your son in China, but no NBA contract to support you. But remember, LaVar, shoplifting is not a little thing. It's a really big deal, especially in China. Ungrateful fool.
The thing about these particular sunglasses, apparently, that
they were stealing?
That they stole from, allegedly stole from Louis Vuitton, is they were $2,000 a piece. I had no idea sunglasses could be $2,000.
That's selling 3 pairs of their tennis shoes to pay for it.
That's $6,000 worth of sunglasses.
Right, and as I mentioned yesterday, there's a 30-year-old former Ball State standout linebacker who got in a bar fight, which he said he didn't even start. He was defending himself. He's in jail now for 14 months without a day in court. That's easily where these 3 UCLA players could have been, because he didn't even know, she did not even know about the leader of China before President Trump brought it up. And as Dana Perino brought up a couple of nights ago, when you're the president of the United States, you only have a couple of times you could ask for favors from other nations.
When you're right there.
Do you want to use, but do you want to use it on 3 players you know nothing about? President Trump said, yeah, I'll use one of the favors. I'm going to just say, can you do me a favor and be easy on these guys? Can you get them out?
Yeah. When it all happened, I thought, this is such a nice story, because these guys made a mistake. The president gave them a pass. The president helped get them home so they could be with their families, because all I could think about is Otto Warmbier doing something small that he shouldn't have been doing, and then it cost him his life. And so I was so grateful that these guys, who are great basketball players, are back here on American soil. Then they had their press conference. They thanked the president. I thought this could not have... Great. Everything great. Tied up with a pretty bow. And then their dad says all this crazy stuff, and it ignites the whole story and makes it bad.
LaVar Ball just isn't a crazy person, or maybe he's crazy like a fox. He's getting more attention, more interest, becomes a center of controversy. I watched that back. I think the whole thing was a put-on with CNN. I think he was just saying the most outrageous thing possible so this story continues and he grows his brand.
Well, he's done that in the past, right?
Non-stop.
Yeah, he is quite a self-promoter.
Let's talk about the other controversy, and that the president has brought LaVar Ball out of the sports world into the general public. This is one of the most bizarre people you're ever going to meet. Did a great job raising his 3 kids, but he is absolutely bizarro land. The president did not get a thank you from him, and he tweeted out that maybe I should have just left the kids there. So LaVar Ball hopped on television to try to explain why he wasn't thanking the president for getting his son out of China after he shoplifted. Try to make sense of this.
How do you know? How do you know it wasn't involved? Before I even knew that. I mean, he didn't even know they was over there and like that. Okay, what was the reason for him going over there in the first place? What I'm trying to say is,
what are you trying to say?
It wasn't like he was in the U.S. and said, okay, there's 3 kids in China, I need to go over there and get them.
Okay.
That wasn't the thought process.
All right,
okay?
right.
What we're talking about right now is a lot of stuff about my son just because his last name is Ball. We're not even talking about the other 2 kids. I don't have no doubts about what he did. I got doubts of what he didn't do. How's that? I would say thank you if he would have put him on his plane and took him home. Then I would have said, thank you, Mr. Trump, for taking my boys out of China and bringing them back to the U.S. There's a lot of room on that plane. I would have said thank you kindly for that.
The problem was the president wasn't going right home. He had to go to the Philippines and Vietnam.
Yeah. So why didn't he take, 3 shoplifters on a tour of Asia with him? The first thing they tell you when they give you a passport is that when you're in a foreign jurisdiction, you're subject to the laws of that jurisdiction. Yeah. So if you're a Canadian bagpiper and they take you to Gitmo, then tough. And the idea that this boorish ingrate 3 petty criminals which in China that can ruin your life.
10 years.
And the idea that somehow he didn't know, he should have taken them on an Air Force One, and they should have been riding up front with him.
I'm not sure he's not playing us.
But
I actually think it might have been an act last night. It was so bizarre.
Well, it might be Twitter trolling. But the thing is, Brian, and I know this kind of gets close to your turf, it comes at a time when professional sports is not not held in high esteem by the American people. Because to be quaint and old-fashioned about it, these guys who are handsomely remunerated no longer seem to represent the sporting virtues. And that guy's a good example of it.
You know what? His son, though, did apologize to the President of the United States and thanked him as well.
Yeah. That's
right, and it just got, by the way, this guy, Wendell Brown, he got in a bar fight in China.
Yeah.
He's been in jail for 13 months. He can't even get a day in court. That easily could have happened to these kids.
No, they're serious about that. They're serious about that stuff there. You do something that you can do in a sanctuary city or whatever, and it doesn't matter. You do it elsewhere on the planet, your life's wrecked.
Isn't this guy really controversial, though? I mean, wasn't the NCAA all over him because they were selling their tennis shoes for like $700?
Right. Yeah.
Why the kid had to shoplift, I don't know. But he made a mistake. He apologized. The president said, "I hope you have a great life," and then the dad does this.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They are, in the end, they are shoplifters. They are shoplifters.
They made a mistake. My hope is the president doesn't go back at LaVar Ball. I want him to go away.
Right.
Please, please, Mr. President, don't tweet back. I don't want to talk about this tomorrow.
The president is going to tweet when the president wants to tweet.
I'm getting that idea.
Just get used to it, Brian. That's what he does.
You're influential, but you're not that influential.
There you go.
Sorry, Brian.
All right, anything else? LaVar Ball.
You put the LaVar Ball story in the same category as the NFL protests and believe this is a feud where the president wins. How come?
This is a feud where the president wins, just like in the NFL protest, because, first of all, when the president actually did play a role in helping to release these 3 basketball players, when they thanked him for doing that, the president released a fairly gracious statement telling them to, stay out of trouble and have a great life. And it was only after the father, LaVar Ball, came out and said, one, that Trump didn't do anything to help his son, and 2, that shoplifting isn't a big deal anyway, that the president struck back. It's a classic Trump counterattack. And in this case, it will have the support not only of his base, but most Americans who oppose shoplifting. So this is just one of those feuds. It's not a big deal, but the president wins.
So here now, Burgess Owens, former Super Bowl champion and author of Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps, as he puts it. Burgess Owens, thank you very much for being here tonight. So you think the president was right to jump in on this or not?
Well, I tell you, Martha, what concerns me is another missed opportunity to give a message to kids who really need to hear this message. There's 70% of black boys who do not have a dad in the household. If you look at the juvenile system, 85% of those kids don't have dads. So when you have a dad, you want him to stand up and do the right things. In this case here, we need to teach our kids to be thankful, number one, and to apologize when they make mistakes. And the very last thing, we make enough mistakes as it is, just trying to do the right things and still make mistakes. The last thing we need to teach our kids is no big deal to steal, lie, and cheat. So if you want to see some accountability, something's going to turn sour down the road, allow these young men, no matter how wealthy they are, to continue to lie, steal, and cheat. And they're going to see there's going to be an accountability process at some point.
So you sort of see an underlying message here between, the NFL situation with kneeling on the field and this situation where the president's saying, no, that's not what I would do, essentially, as a parent. This is what you need to teach in terms of respect and accountability. Do you think that the president has a positive message here for these young African-American men, or is it racist, as you just heard charged?
No, what's racist is to think that this is the way black people should think and the way black people should respond. No, I'm thankful for a president who's drawing lines across the board because it's not happening in these homes. We need to respect our flag. We need to respect women. We need to respect the laws. All those things that right now there are problems in the black community, we're not being taught because men are not standing up and doing their job. So at the end of the day, let's have this conversation. And at the end of these seasons, let's go back and we need to get American people into these communities and giving the right message to these young people about service and love of country, because they're not getting it from the Marxists and socialists that are running out these communities as we speak today.
So how would you compare the message that President Trump is putting out there with the message that President Obama put out there?
Well, President Obama had a message of division. It was always it was not bringing together and helping out kids to understand their laws that we need to stay focused on. I tell you what I'm learning, what I'm seeing right now. When I grew up, to do something like this would not happen. I would not want to disrespect my family's name. I would not want to embarrass my mom and dad. This is what we're not being taught in the communities. And across the board, black or white, it's a message that all of us need to be teaching our kids because we want them to be successful and happy. And unfortunately, in the black community, we're expecting thuggery is almost a natural way that we think and react, and it's not the way it should be. That is true racism, to have so low expectations for our kids.
All right, Burgess Owens, thank you very much. Good to have you here tonight, sir.
Thank you, Martha. Appreciate it.